Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I cannot see who's watching live. If you are here live, go ahead and say hi. I'm gonna have to check my phone again, I think, because I never seem to be able to access comments uh, when I'm on my computer, but I would love to see who's watching. And of course, if you're jumping on the replay, please go ahead and give me a hashtag replay so I can see who is here and joining the fun. This is the title of the live stream today is Get Lit with Your Spiritual Gift. Uh, I don't know if that is fun or kooky or silly or, maybe a little lame to some people. I don't really care. See, because the thing is, I did not become an entrepreneur and create my own fucking existence in my business and in my world, my own universe for everything where I get to just say and be and do whatever the fuck I want to just do things, for the way that, other people might want me to do them. And that's the whole topic of today's live stream. We get to have fun. We get to do it our way. All right. So, once again, I'm going to check my phone now. Who's on? Go ahead and say hi if you are here. Once again. Oh, no. Give me a sec here. All right. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a goofy mood, but I think that that is perfect for today's topic, right? So today's topic is getting lit with your spiritual gift. I want to talk about having fun in business because it's really important to me. For majority of my life, it wasn't very important to me to have fun. It was very important for me to survive. And I think that that's actually where a lot of humanity sort of finds themselves day to day. You know, let me know if you sort of agree here. But like, I'm not sure that fun, excitement, enjoyment, pleasure is really the focus for most individuals here on planet Earth, actually. And this is not to obviously say that anyone is wrong for not placing a focus there or not being able to place a focus there. I wasn't able to place a focus there for the majority of my life because of the conditions of my life, right? And I get and I understand that some people have life situations where it's hard to find that fun, that joy, that excitement. But all the more reason why, if you are in a position to create a life and a business that is fun for you, that excites you on a daily basis, that lights you up from the inside out like a Christmas tree, if that is at all within your power to create that, all the more reason why we should create that. Don't you think? I think so. So, I posted something to my stories earlier today, and it was like this big, excited face. And I thought, maybe some people are going to think this is just like me being performative, but it was really like I was getting ready to get on a call with a client, and I was actually just so excited, so lit up from the inside out. I just had this moment sometimes when I get on a call, and those of you who have been my clients, you might know this and you might have seen this from me, but I often will be like, "Hi," and I kind of have this like kind of face and I get really, really excited. Part of that is because of the clients that I have in my business and because of the incredible people who are magnetized towards my work, right? And there are multiple, kind of pieces involved in that equation. But a big part of it is also due to the fact that I love what I do so fucking much. Like it feels natural, yet also challenging enough. right? It's like that sweet spot of it's so easy, but it also challenges me enough, right? And I need that because I need, I need a little bit of challenge. It feels nourishing, but it feels authentic. It feels life-giving to me. It does not feel draining to me. It never feels boring to me, right? But it certainly has not always been that way in my career, and this is what I wanted to speak to you about today because I know that some of you are out there and maybe you've created some success, right? And this was me. Maybe you've created some success in a business, a coaching business, a mentorship business, a healing business of some kind, Reiki. You've created some success, you've been doing sessions or, art or whatever it is that you're doing, and you've hit a rhythm. Look, I love stability. I'm all about stability. Okay. But there's a big difference between stability and stagnancy. And I know some of you who are out there, you don't even want to admit to yourself the level of stagnancy and boredom you have hit inside of the business. And I'd ask you to say if it's resonating with you in the comments, but it's okay if you don't want to say. It's hard to admit that to yourself. You know what I mean? Your income is not the only marker of like whether you're satisfied in your business either. People could be making a lot of money and still be feeling this way. Again, I know because I've been in that position before, right? Oh, hello, Latoya. Thanks for the compliment. Appreciate. So, I want to take you back to 2015 when which is 10 years ago now, which is wild, but that's when I first started my online business, right? When I first started my business from my room that I was renting in this woman's house in San Jose, California. And I didn't know I was going to start a business. It all just sort of happened. It kind of fell into my lap after I went to a training and I learned a very powerful, for me, modality, powerful healing modality, right? So I was sort of top of my class in this trauma integration and soul retrieval healing modality. And I was really passionate about it, right? So when I first started, it's like I had that fire. I had that fire for what I was doing. And that was all I needed, to be honest with you. I didn't have much else, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just like created kind of like a cheap website on Wix. I started putting myself out there. I started just talking. I started talking on lives like this. I started doing my work. I was so lit up and turned on by what I was doing. And a lot of times we get this in the beginning when we're teaching or we're doing something with others that worked for us. Let me know in the comments if you have been really passionate about something because it changed your life, right? And it changed your life. And so you just wanted to offer it to other people. Have you ever had that experience? Well, that's where I was. And, I built a business those first 4 years, right? I built a business those first 4 years that was doing solidly well enough for me to, you know, quit my day job, right? And to have like a small community of people that sort of knew me, right? And then I hit kind of this point of, mm, I think at the time it was a frustration with where my income was at, but if I'm really being honest as well, it was a frustration with like the energy inside of my business. And there was this sense of kind of like stagnation. Interestingly, this was right around the time that Uranus actually went into Taurus in 2018. And now Uranus is about to change signs again into Gemini on the 7th coming up here. But Uranus went into Taurus 2018. I started to feel all of this like generator frustration. I'm a generator, right? So I felt a lot of this sense of sort of like frustration. I hired my first real, high level business coach online, and she helped me to transition what I was doing. Now, I did not at this point in time change everything about the way that I was working with people, but I did change my focus. I changed the price point, I changed how I was marketing myself, and I started really working lasering in on the realm of relationship. And that worked, right? I was lit up again. I was excited again, right? Like that passion I had in the very beginning, I felt it again. It felt light. It felt easy. It felt joyful. It felt abundant. It felt fun again for a while. For a while, right? This was, about 2019. And then we come to 2022, tail end of 2022. And at this point in time, I'd hit another pocket of stagnancy. And this one felt like it lasted longer, you know? I was making six figures a year in my business. I had for the past, several years. Things were stable again. And I looked around and I thought, well, what do I have to complain about, right? I was known in my field. But like, here's the thing. In the background, while I was working with people, while I was engaging on a daily basis on my business, posting content, working with clients, there was like this thing that was starting to wake up in me. And I was spending a lot of time outside of my work on things that were totally different to what I was doing. I was starting to have gifts wake up. I would go and walk along on the beach, and galactic languages were pouring through me. I was focused off the clock on my psychic development. I was sitting in the bathtub and, clairvoyantly seeing beings in the space and talking to them, right? I was remembering other lifetimes in Lemuria and Atlantis. I was remembering my lifetimes as a priestess. I was going through a very deep and profound activation process for myself, but my work was not reflecting those shifts. And I'll tell you what I did. I had the soul nudge to hire a mentor, a very powerful psychic mentor. And she was the mirror that reflected to me, Julia, you're meant to create your own modality. And, you know, it was confronting, right? It was confronting. And this is like when I work with people, this is kind of what we do behind the scenes, like this is a whole identity shift. This is a death and rebirth. This is like all the shit that comes up. All the shit that came up for me is all the shit that I now help guide others through, right? It's like, okay, but who am I to do that? I'm not trained to do that. What are people going to think? What are they going to say? How? How do I do that? How do I do that? What do you mean create my own modality? How do I do that? I mean, I knew she was right. How do I bring this out? Like this is not what I'm known for. And then there was, there was all this self-doubt, self-belief stuff. There was also stuff from, my childhood and the spiritual cult I grew up in and everything. Like I cared about integrity. I wanted to do this right. And then there was also the fear of like, okay, am I gonna have an income dip? Like, am I gonna lose all my money? Am I gonna lose this whole community of people who have come to expect a certain thing from me, whom I love? I loved my business. I cared about my business. Just because I was feeling stagnant in my business was not an indication that I didn't love my clients, what I had created, that I wasn't proud of what I had created. I was incredibly proud of it. I didn't want to do anything to risk losing it. But the thing about being in a position where you are holding back the creation, like the creative force of the divine that wants to move through you, the next iteration of your higher self embodiment and how you're being called to lead, when you try to hold that back, it feels like shit. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes people do experience like this is when the income tanks. Sometimes people they resist the call so much that they blow up their business altogether. They blow up spirituality altogether and their association with it, and they go back and get a muggle job or they just quit the whole thing. I've seen all of these different scenarios happen because it can be so confronting. I am extremely grateful that at this moment in my life, this pivotal moment, I had mentorship from someone who actually it was two women and it was a mastermind container. These two women knew how to hold me through all the layers of this unfolding. One of them actually like held a lot of space on a multidimensional level for what was happening for me, could mirror and reflect, could really hold my process there for the gifts that were needing to be honed and developed and brought forward, and really was seeing and holding me through that. The other woman leading this mastermind, I mean, she really held my death and rebirth process, right? She held me in that void space, in that ego death, in the fear, in the parts of me that wanted to push and make it happen like quicker than it was supposed to actually. Like she held me in that like that midwife type of energy, that's just like breathe, like, helped me bring it out. And what's really surprising is when Rapid Shift Integration was born and I created it, it came through me at the tail end of 2022 and I brought it forward in 2023. It didn't actually take as long as I thought that it would. I did not have to tear down my old business. I did not have to throw away everything that I had built previously. I did not have to throw away my entire identity. Yes, some people didn't love it, didn't vibe with it, didn't, resonate with it, and they moved on to other places, other people, other things, as is their right, totally fine. And a lot of people stayed. And a lot of people moved with me, through my evolution. A lot of people have moved with me and stayed with me through many iterations of my evolution, actually. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm really, really grateful for that, you know? And they've been able to see like this evolution, and I'm still in process, right? I don't know if I'll ever get to a spot where I'm like, that's it. That's all the creation that wants to come through me. There's no more changes. There's nothing new to be birthed. That's not what I'm here to do. I carry a lot of, divine feminine codes, and I'm here to evolve. That's the creation energy, the creatrix. Got Sun conjunct Uranus. Like, I'm gonna evolve. Things are gonna change. And now, this evolution occurred where it's like, okay, now I'm teaching women to develop their own modalities, to be the conduit, to be the vessel, to bring through their own ancient and new healing technologies, you know, in the form of their own modalities. Okay, now I'm teaching women to make money with their spiritual gifts. I'm teaching people how to do business and make good money and be paid well, make their livelihood from their spiritual business. Like there have been these iterations, right? But here's the thing that I know, and the reason why I'm sharing this story today, why I've chosen to share this today with you, is that it's okay if you find yourself in a place where you feel stagnant. It's okay if you find yourself in a place where you feel bored. It's okay if you find yourself in a place where you feel dry, no longer lit up, where you feel heavy. But we live in a society where we've been conditioned to just accept that and push through that, especially if we're hitting the marks, if we're making the money, if, our parents are proud, right? And that's what I don't want you to do. Because if you're feeling that way in your business, it's a sign. Or in your career in general, it can be a sign, right? I don't just work with people who have online spiritual businesses or coaching or healing businesses. I've worked with accountants, I've worked with bookkeepers, I've worked with real estate agents, people in all, corporate, people in all kinds of situations and career paths that they are being called to birth something new, and they're being called maybe to step into this realm, this spiritual realm, as a healer, as a teacher, as a leader, as a guide, maybe in a way where it's like, are you serious? It can feel overwhelming. It can feel overwhelming, and for a lot of people, I didn't have as much of this problem, but for a lot of people who are connected to, family, to loved ones, to people they work with, who think that the kind of stuff that they're doing in their private time is really bizarre, you know or if it's just people just want to be taken seriously in their professional life, and they're afraid that, if they embrace their spiritual gifts, or if they bring through their thing, they're like afraid that yeah, it won't be met well. And I recognize that I haven't dealt directly with some of these fears in the way that they come up for people. There are so many. I mean, I could go into all of them. It's also like, am I gonna be seen as crazy? Am I gonna be crazy? Am I gonna have to become one of those floating on a lotus people? You know? No. No, you still get to be you. But if you want to bring like the life force energy and the fun back into the business, and your spiritual gifts are waking up, or maybe they've been online for some time and you haven't brought them through, or you're holding back a modality that you are being called to bring through, it's gonna feel not great until you do that. Let me tell you something. My business got, I mean, I don't know, hundreds of times easier, okay? Easier when I decided to fully own my spiritual gifts and use them and make that the core of what I was doing. It's not that I stopped working with the same people either, because it's not about the people. It's not that I stopped, talking about some of the things that I was talking about. I was still, working a lot with people around similar themes, around relationships, whatever, but I was doing it in the way that I was uniquely coded to do, in the way that was easy and natural for me, in the way that was fun for me. And that's the spot that I always want to be in my business. I never ever I think that if it got to that point where it just was so heavy and there was no clear pathway out, I would just not do it. Because again, like I did, just the same way I didn't get sober so that I could live like a shitty, boring life. I didn't become an entrepreneur and start a business so that I could feel overworked, overburdened, bored as hell, stagnant in my life, dreading, getting up on a live or doing client calls. Like, hell to the no. Hi, B. Hi, Angela. I'm just seeing you guys here. Yeah. All right. Wow, I've already been talking for like 30 minutes. This is crazy. Okay. I may not go as long this time as I did the last time, okay? We did a couple of hours. It was kind of intense, although very, very fun. But listen, if this is resonating for you, I just need you to know that you are worthy of having a business that feels fucking amazing to you. You are worthy of having a business that feels easeful and joyful for you. You are worthy of having a business that feels abundant as fuck, where there's a flow of resources that is a natural exchange for you transmitting the unique gifts of your soul. This is the other thing, is when you bring your soul gifts into your business, when you start to do that, I'm also talking about you can bring this in a way where you can like use your soul gifts not only in your business, like with your clients, but like on your business. You know? I told somebody I was calling somebody out the other day about, you've got to use the same methods of psychic channeling that you use to channel like strategy and content and stuff for your clients. You got to use it on your own your own shit, you know? I have, I pride myself on assisting my clients in opening their channel and creating a connection that's really theirs with the consciousness of their modality, if they have a modality that they're meant to be offering, with their yeah, their offers, the consciousness of their offers, with like a relationship with their their soul fractal, like the group of souls they're here to serve, with the energy they're here to serve, you know and it's like bringing the magic back. Like when you start to use your soul gifts in your business like this, shit gets fun again. It gets easy, it gets fun. Like things start opening up. It starts becoming like there are positive surprises that can occur, as opposed to like, it's like a lot of people will just, when they hit that spot where things feel stagnant or they're like, I want to get to the next level, they just like invest in more strategy. And I see people doing this, and it's not that I'm knocking strategy. Strategy is extremely important, and I teach this as well, and I help people with this as well. But a lot of times, like, this is not the thing that's going to bring the ease back, that's going to bring the flow back. It's certainly not the thing that's going to bring the fun back for most people, you know? And the amount of women that I see, especially women, of course, men and all genders too, but the amount of women that I see just staying in like a situation, and it's like they're just banging their head against the wall. They're investing in this strategy. They're like, oh, I just gotta, I gotta fix my messaging or whatever. And I'm just looking at them and I'm like, or you could own the fact that you're a psychic oracle, you know, you could maybe do that. That could make things a little bit easier. But it's like I'm joking about it, but I'm not. I'm not meant to. I'm not meaning to shame anybody. I'm not meaning to call anybody out, because I've been there. I've been in that spot where it's scary. It's scary to come forward, and you don't know if it'll work. Look, you don't. You're. I think we have this idea, right? We have this idea that in order to birth something new like this, we have to tear everything down that we've built. And I think in some situations that it does actually work that way. For some people on their path, they might need to go through that. They may need to go through a phase where they totally demolish everything that they've built and then grow something else. That hasn't been my story. That hasn't been how it's worked for me, you know? I've been able to gradually transition my business, and I can show you how to do this so that you're not necessarily like, it's like people hold themselves back so much because they're afraid of losing what they've built. And it's like, you don't need to lose it. You just get to rework it. You get to, everything doesn't need to die. Maybe the whole plant doesn't need to die, the whole tree. Maybe you just need to prune some leaves. Maybe you just need to reintroduce people. Sometimes I work with people and it's like their title doesn't even change. What they're doing on the front end doesn't even change. It's not like they start marketing themselves as a psychic, or, some people, they're doing their own modality, maybe isn't their thing and they don't bring that in. Some people it is. But for those that don't, it's just they quietly start using different tools with clients behind the scenes. They quietly rework their offers. They quietly, just start being more of who the fuck they came here to be as a soul in a human body. Because otherwise, what the fuck is the point, It's like people don't talk about this either. What happens when you're going through an awakening and you're a public figure? Like, people don't talk about that shit. You're going through a spiritual awakening, or you're going through a psychic awakening, and you're a public figure. Most people don't talk about it, but I have talked to so many public figures and leaders and entrepreneurs who have gone through this. And not all of them have needed to, destroy what they've built in order to express something different. I haven't needed to. I did not need to have an income dip at all. I've pivoted, and I've a lot in my career. Maybe some people looking at me would say that I'm consistent. Maybe some people looking at me over the past 5-10 years would say that I change a lot in my focus. I don't know. I think that that's probably pretty subjective. But what I will say is that I watched people in my industry. I watched so many people in my industry There was a big boom kind of in like 2020. I watched so many people packing in. I watched so many people struggle and, not be able to adapt and not sustain their income. So I actually happen to believe that sustaining my income for the past 5 years, even if some people could look at that and say, like, well, you're not growing, whatever. It's a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. And once again, income is not the only marker of success in your business. Did you get into this thing just to feel as heavy, as drained, as blah as you would at a desk job? If so, by all means, please just go get one of those. It is a disservice to yourself, to the people that you're here to serve, and to humanity at large for you to sit on your fucking gifts. And the ease, the joy, the lightness, the abundance that you are looking for in your business comes from embracing those spiritual gifts. And for many of you, it's also going to come from bringing through your own modality. And I'm going to tell you, July is a month, man. If you're being called, it's time to to answer the call. This is not just in this context. This is going to be just actually the theme for the month of like the collective that I'm seeing kind of everywhere is it's like step up, answer the call. Where have you been holding back the creation? What has been holding back the creation? It's just like there's this like call to just like clear that shit out and like there's a lot of forward movement. I know a lot of people are saying like there's going to be all these retrogrades, et cetera, et cetera. I don't give a shit. I see movement. I see a lot of movement and a lot of change. But there is a bit of a come to Jesus moment as well with that for a lot of people, you know. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Y'all are so quiet today. I guess I've just been kind of on my own roll doing my own thing. But I'm gonna check out the comments here. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, hello. Hi, Bridget. Good to see you guys. Yeah, y'all are quiet today. It's okay. That's fine. I typically schedule my live streams kind of like closer to my morning hours, so more of my European folks can check in. It tends to be a friendlier time zone for a lot of people, but I also like doing different times because I think that it gives different people, um, like a chance to participate that wouldn't get to otherwise. Mm. There's so much that I could say about this, but I feel like yeah, I feel like I want to leave it there for today because I want to keep it short and sweet, even though it hasn't been maybe that short, but for my standards, it's pretty short. 40 minutes is like really short. I can go forever because I'm going to be doing more of these. I really love just connecting with you guys. I love speaking. I'm really passionate about these topics. If you have ideas, if you have stuff you want to hear about on a live, if you have a certain focus for readings, whatever. I can't promise that I'm going to, you know, say yes, but go ahead and leave it. Leave it for me. Leave it for me in the comments of the video. I'm gonna go based on what the energy is requiring and also what my sacral says because we're here to do business that feels good. Um, I want to invite you if you resonated with any piece of what I shared today, this evening. I want to invite you into my DMs to ask about Conduit. Conduit is my modality creation program. It is very, I believe it's the only thing like it that I have really seen out there. I don't actually think that there are any other modality creation programs that do exactly what Conduit does in exactly the way that she does it. And I'm referring to her as she because, yes, this is a consciousness. It is a feminine field that will initiate you into and certify you in your own unique medicine and modality. And she's starting in August. Plan is to kick off around the Lionsgate. So I want to invite you into my DMs so that we can chat about that. Uh, or you might be a great fit for one-to-one mentorship. Additionally, if you're not ready to invest at that level, the membership is a really, really great option for you at the Rapid Shift Collective membership. We do gift development in there. We do spiritual business training, and we also do activations, healings, my modality, right? Rapid Shift integration. That's the place to experience it. I come in, I share, we do a lot of great stuff in there. So I'll leave the link for that below. And feel free to pop into my DMs at any time and let's chat about bringing those gifts all the way out and through you. All right. Love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.